G'day Bomber fans, hope we all enjoyed the week. Sorry about the late upload with the reviews, some technical difficulties, I'm quite dumb. All sorted for now. We got a big game coming up this week to enjoy. Friday night footy, gather round, Essendon vs Port Adelaide, Zerk Thatcher and Dersmer against their old clubs. Should be an absolute cracker. We'll go in as the underdogs, but I think we stand a real chance. So today I'm going to talk about how we can win, what Port Adelaide need to do for us to lose, and predict the result as always. But first, some votes from last weekend's game to get through. Alrighty, it was tough to pick the votes. I struggled. So did you guys. You guys had 5 players with over 50 votes, very tight, but Andy got all 3. Nick Martin sprung up to get 2, and Heppel managed to get another one from you guys as well. The unlucky guys to miss out were Jake Stringer and Zach Merritt. Dersmer also got a bunch as well. Mackay picked up a few. The role player was Harry Jones from you guys. He slightly edged out Xavier Dersmer, who got my vote. I like that the love was shared around, though. In the end, McGrath was the only thing we really agreed on. He did have a belter of a game. Overall tally, Merritt has the slightest of leads on 7 votes, 1 ahead of McGrath and Perkins, who were both nominated best on ground by us together. Gresham and Stringer follow behind on 4, with a host of players sitting on 3 and 2. Still early days, so there's plenty left to change, but the reigning Essendon, Everything Essendon Player of the Year winner has taken a lead in the early stages. Keep up the votes. Alrighty, so Essendon vs Port Adelaide, game details. It is gather round, so we are in Adelaide, my hometown. It's at Adelaide Oval. I'm going to be there right behind the goals in the cheer squad. Friday night, prime time, 7:40 start. Weather seems alright for the weekend. It's a sellout, so should have quite a few Essendon fans out and about. But being an away game, we will be drowned out by the sea of teal. Port are 2-1, we are 2-1, we are side by side on the ladder. They are slightly above us. The winner will finish the round in the 8, the loser will fall slightly, so it's a big game. Let's talk about our opponent. Port Adelaide, fun fact, they are my least favourite team in the comp. It's also pretty annoying because they're a very good footy side. They have looked fantastic so far, top 4 contenders for sure at the early stages of the season. They have only lost 1 game and it was to Melbourne in a thriller. The wins they have on the border against Richmond and West Coast, so not the best of teams, but they were convincing wins, and they did look good against the Ds despite the loss. They have definitely earned the favouritism from the bookies, and it really comes down to their midfield, which is what makes this such a fascinating contest, because that's what our strength seems to be at the moment as well. So you have this real arm wrestle of a contest between 2 teams who will believe they have the other covered in the middle of the ground. So let's talk a bit about what we should expect from Port Adelaide this Friday. Well, as I said, the game starts in the middle of the ground. Centre clearances will be crucial. It's both of our strengths. Only 3 teams this year average over 15 a game, and 2 of them are playing on Friday night. Both these sides build their game off of their stoppage work, both in centre bounces and around the ground. The contested play will be really important. I know they lost that game against the Demons, but they obliterated them in the guts, 52 clearances. That is a huge number. It's pretty scary considering the Demons possess the best engine room in the comp. It's why the Power have the most inside 50s in the league, the 3rd most centre clearances. They push forward better than any other team. The territory they managed to gain is really hard to defend. They lost against the Ds, but had quite a few more scoring shots. I think it's going to be really hard to defend this team, but obviously not impossible, as Melbourne showed. I think the comp is lucky Port's forward line lacks consistent firepower. Dixon is a bully, Marshall is a great one on, but there are better forward lines in the league for sure. They are the highest scoring team right now, but that to me tells me more about the defences they faced before Melbourne. They went inside 50 10 more times against the Demons than they did against the Eagles, but scored over 5 goals less. It won't be easy, but if we can contain Port to a lower than average score for them, we can win this game of footy. Our back 6 needs to be on because they will get opportunities from centre clearances. It's a given. They will get isolation from the 6-6-6 rule, and they will try and hurt us quickly after centre bounces. So if we can be steady from them, from centre clearances, I think it goes a long way for us winning this game. Now, I think Port are a great team, but I think it should also be noted that they do not have a solid back 6. They do limit the amount of action that goes on in their defence, which is why they are yet to concede a score over 100, but they concede a scoring shot roughly every 2 entries. Now, we do as well, but I think a big reason for our ratio is that Sydney game. That to me is an outlier, hopefully. Whereas Port, they haven't really had a match yet where you can say their defence held up really well. You look at the Eagles and the Tigers, they scored their highest scores for the year so far against Port, and the Demons managed their 2nd highest score against Port, and they've also played a game more, so there's a bit to unpack there, and they will be going up against a team who can score. We kicked over 100 against the Hawks, 100 against the Swans. Stringer and Langford are firing. Wright is missing, but there is promise with Jones after his performance against the Saints, so there is a clear blueprint. You get 50 to 60 inside 50s, you have reason to believe you can get 20 to 25 scoring shots. It's then what you do with those shots. But then keep in mind, Port will be saying the same thing about us. It could well be a question over what defence holds up better. On paper, you would back ours, but is it good enough to contain the second highest scoring team in the league? I think the game will be partially decided by who handles the ball better as well. Adelaide Oval can get pretty moist and wet on a night game. There's going to be some skill issues from both teams, and that is something we should be worried about, because if there's one thing we haven't been this year, it's been clean. We were lucky that St Kilda were equally as poor with ball in hand on Saturday, because we didn't look slick at all, at least consistently slick. And Port Adelaide, on the other hand, they're one of the more efficient teams in the league. They have the most kicks but the least turnovers. That is the stat you would love to have as a coach. We need to make sure we close in a bit on that figure on Friday, because there could be a real discrepancy between the two sides if we don't. And as always, conversion, it's really important. It's something we're great at, something they're not great at. If we can frustrate them, kick the goals they don't, silence the big crowd, cause a boil over, I'll be getting very hype in the crowd. Some danger players for both clubs. For us, Jake Stringer, he is on right now. He's probably in the All-Australian team as of round 3, the way he's going. And on the Friday night stage, he could get really rowdy. He loves a big occasion. Darcy Parish, he's gonna have to be massive against Port if we want to get the dub. And Goldstein, I reckon Draper versus Soldo is a fantastic around the ground matchup, but Goldstein can really make Port's engine room hurt when he's up for stoppages. He's been in centre bounces less and less now that Draper's back, but around the ground he can have a huge say on who wins stoppage clearances against Soldo, who isn't known for being a pure hit-out ruck. For them, Willem Drew, whether or not he plays a role on merit, he is such a good defensive midfielder. He's severely underrated. Connor Rosie is one of the very best players in the league, and his partner Zach Butters is also one of the very best players in the league. For me, those two are hard to pin down. You don't win easy if they're having S-tier games. Team news, there's a bit to unfold. For starters, Port should welcome back Jason Horne-Francis, but it will come at the cost of Ollie Wines, who has suffered a hamstring injury. Aside from that, they should be unchanged, I think, whereas we'll probably have to make a few changes. Sam Durham is concussed. The good news is, it seems he's avoided any shoulder damage. Dersmer is fine with his elbow. It was apparently just a bad funny bone knock. We should welcome back Will Setterfield, who was laid out against the Saints. Ridley will not play, though, which is disappointing. Still a week away. Same as Guelphy and Shield, it seems. Aside from that, I reckon that's about it for the forced changes. Some VFL guys who could possibly be in contention if we needed to make any more changes. Also, I'll put out a VFL review this week, but for now, Roberts has been awesome. Sartas was lively. That's about it, I'd say, for the guys that could come straight into the fold. Brian and Hayes are performing well, but wouldn't really get in above anyone else. That's it for team news. Now onto the prediction. So I received a comment from D's Clips, who attempted to predict the Saints game. I told them if they were correct, they would be allowed to predict this one as well, and they were. I'm a man of my word, so today's prediction is brought to you by D's Clips. They've said that Port Adelaide will win by 21. We will challenge them, and Jones will score on Zerk Thatcher. Merritt and Martin will combine for 71 touches as well. So if that all happens, I'm going to be coming to you for stock market advice. But in all seriousness, that is around the margin I was vibing anyway. 3 or so goals. I think we are a real chance, but a near full strength Port Adelaide is a really tough team to beat at home. They have been putting teams away this year. Melbourne showed they're not perfect, so there is a clear blueprint for us, but I just think they will be a bit too strong. I would love to be proven wrong, but I do think Port have the upper hand here. It's a much tougher task for us to win than it is for them. Not saying it's impossible. We have shown we have some real grit about us, but Port Adelaide by 21. Merritt and McGrath to go sicko mode. Jones to dunk on BZT. You heard it here first. That's all though. Huge game coming up. We win and we mean business. We lose. We're lost as expected, so it won't be the end of the world, but I think the boys are going to be up and about for this game. It's a big one. Friday night lights. The footy world watching. This is the perfect time to announce ourselves to the comp. Let's just hope the boys are on the same wavelength. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. Get out to the game. Come say hi to me sitting right behind the goals, and as always, go Bombers.